Recently, I've been hearing a lot of really messed up stuff around campus, most of which is pertaining to something I consider to be very, very simple. And that's the difference between what constitutes consensual sex and what is rape. I just want to make a little video to clear some stuff up because this is an issue that's really close to my heart, and I just really hope, maybe it'll help some people. Because I've had these conversations with everyone from my closest friends to some dude that I overheard in the UC making a joke about how if you yell surprise first, it's not rape. Now, I realize said dude was probably not actually contemplating yelling surprise and then sexually assaulting someone, but rape jokes are like their own insidious, nasty, wholly disgusting can of worms, and I'll get into that in later videos. For now, I just want to have a basic conversation about what constitutes sex versus rape. I know that most of you, both on the college campus and off it, are having perfectly wonderful, communicative, consensual sex, and that's amazing. Keep doing that. And some of you are not having sex at all, and that's also amazing. You do what you're comfortable with. The point is that most of you instinctually go for consent because you're good people who don't want to hurt the people around you. But for the consensually confused, let's take a look at what makes it a good time rather than a soul-consuming monstrosity. First off, consent is affirmative. Affirmative consent can be verbal or it can be physical. Pushing into kisses, taking off clothing, putting hands where you want them to be, that's affirmative consent. It's a big, obvious, screaming yes that you can't not hear. So if you're not sure if you're hearing the big neon hell yeah, literally just ask your partner. And forget all of that stuff about it ruining the mood. There are a billion ways to ask, and every single one of them is sexy. And hey, if your partner declines, don't worry about it. Having sex with someone, whether they're a partner of 3 years or somebody you just met at a drunken party, it doesn't matter. Having sex with them doesn't define your worth or your desirability. They're just not feeling it right now, and that's okay. Side note, if you're in a relationship that likes a little more rough and you're rough and tumble, just have a good, long, detailed conversation with your partner beforehand and figure out what's okay with one of you and what's okay with the other, and then meet in the middle. And always use safe words. Secondly, consent is continuous. Speaking of safe words, if you're in the middle of doing it and your partner is like, oh, hey, wait, I don't want to do this anymore, it's your responsibility to stop having sex with them immediately. And just like giving consent can be verbal or nonverbal, withdrawal of consent can look like closed off body language, a strained facial expression, or just plain awkward silence. I mean, I don't care if you're like 6 seconds from the best orgasm you have ever had in the history of your life, your partner's emotional health is always going to be way more important than your need to get off. Arousal is not a medical condition, and no one is under any obligation to take care of that shit but you. Thirdly, consent is given for each individual act. So if you're with someone and they're like, hey, do you like hand stuff? And you're like, yeah, I love hand stuff. And they're like, do you want to do some mouth stuff? And you're like, yeah, mouth stuff, even better. Let's go. I love mouth stuff. Let's do this. And then they start coming at you like they want to go all the way, but you don't really want to go all the way. And you're like, I don't really know. They need to respect that. Everything that you do with another person requires continuous, ongoing, individual, informed, sober consent. Which brings me to number 4. Consent is fully conscious and mostly sober. This is a topic that has a lot of controversy surrounding it, so I really want to get into it in depth in another video so I can give it the full attention it deserves. But really, it makes sense that if somebody is slurring their words or falling down or throwing up or passing out, no one should have sex with that person, right? Keep in mind that drunk people are super bad at judging how drunk they are. So if they come to you and they're like kissing on you and they tell you that they're good and sober, but they just lost at their 3rd round of Tom Collins Pong, they're probably not that sober. If you have any doubt about the level of sobriety they're at, probably err on the side of caution, because even if you think they're sober and they tell you that they're sober, but they're not sober, that's not consent. Once again, this person's emotional health is way more important than your desire to have sex with them. And the same goes for you. If you know that you're gonna be drinking, discuss sexual boundaries with your partner beforehand. And if somebody keeps feeding somebody else drinks and tries to lead them away from other people, they're probably using alcohol as a way to incapacitate that other person. This is creepy and very, very predatory. Alcohol is the most commonly used date rape drug, and we should all call that shit out, because sometimes that's all it takes to save somebody. And fifth, consent is given without coercion, ultimatums, pressure, or a power dynamic. A power dynamic would be a situation in which one person has an unfair advantage over another person, like a teacher or a student or a coach and a player, or even a college student and a high schooler. The underpowered people in these situations cannot consent because it's way too easy for the overpowered people to control them. In terms of pressure and coercion, just keep in mind that one no is enough, and 50 no's and a yes is still a no. If you have to ask your partner to have sex with you 50 times, they don't want to have sex with you. Get over it and move on. Rape is the absence of a consensual yes, not the presence of a no. So if anyone in a physical interaction misses any of these features of consent that I just outlined, what they're doing is rape. We have to call this what it is and start calling out skeezy behavior before it hurts people. If you feel that any of these elements of consent have been missing in interactions with you or your friends, just take a second to figure out how that made you feel and know that there are resources available for you. Like I said, most of you already know what consent looks like. But some people don't. Some people do, and they just ignore it because they don't care or because they want to justify their way around it. Whether they're strangers, lovers, friends, it doesn't matter. Consent is a necessary piece of the sexual experience. Acquaintance rape, when the victim knows the perpetrator, is the most common kind of rape. So when someone we know turns out to be an unspeakably evil douche nozzle, we need to create an environment that stomps out that behavior. Don't let people think that this is normal or acceptable, because it's not. Even if you're not sure what they're doing is rapey, if you see a warning sign, it's better safe than sorry. Protect the potential victims, not the potential rapist. I want to leave you guys with one last thing to think about. We students spend 10 months out of the year on campus. During that 10 months, we eat here, we sleep here, we play here, we study here. We hardly ever leave, which makes this our home, and us kind of like a family. We're all here to take care of each other, you know? Good people watch out for one another. And I don't know about you, but I believe that everyone deserves to feel safe at home and to feel like their siblings have their backs. We need you to help us out. Put your capes on, heroes. Campus needs you. Feel free to jump into the conversation at any time. I want to know all about your consent experiences. What are some ways that you give it? What are some ways that you get it? What are some ways that you don't give it? And let me know if there's anything else you guys want to know about consent culture and keeping each other safe. You can always follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook. And for more awesome videos like this one, click the subscribe button. I love you, heroes. Thanks for watching.